All right, welcome back to another episode of the Karter Cast. I'm your host, Karter Baughan. Connor, we're back. The NBA, college basketball, March Madness, it's done. It's over. We're back. It's NBA season. The NBA regular season just wrapped up a couple hours ago. We're recording right now. It's Sunday, April 14th, around 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Before we get into today's episode, we are brought to you by SeatGeek. Use the SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com for $20 off your first purchase using code CarterCast. $50 minimum purchase required. Terms and conditions do apply. Use code CarterCast for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Let's get into the show today. Connor, what did you want to start with?
Well, I just wanted to say real quick, we're back. We're so back. NBA's back. Playoffs are coming up, and we're losing bets by one stat. Just like normal.
My.
Just like normal.
I might have to on the post that we might have to put it up on the screen if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify. Subscribe if you are. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, I'll put the graphic up. I'll put the it's brutal. You're gonna see it and you're like, oh man.
Yeah, that made me feel so back. But first thing I want to bring up today, Carter, moments to remember the 2023-24 NBA regular season by. That's the first thing I wanted to do. And the number one broad moment I wrote down is I think we're going to look back on this year in 5-10 years, whenever that may be, and be like, this was the springboard year for guys like SGA, Anthony Edwards, Victor Wembanyama. Like, this was the year where those guys really broke out and led a team. And it's funny because it's Wembanyama's rookie year. Like,
do you think
more so just stat-wise?
I was about to say, I don't know if Wemby will get in that same conversation as SGA and Edwards, because Wemby, it feels like, okay, this was this new fresh thing. Like, not Zion's rookie year, because Zion's rookie year was obviously tainted a little bit with injuries and whatnot. But it's the rookie year's kind of tricky. I think next year is that year when all of a sudden Wembanyama's averaging a 30-point triple-double or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Then we're like, okay, he's here.
Well, it's crazy because this is probably the worst he's going to be ever, barring like an injury or something like that. Like this year, how awesome he was, those insane games, numbers, defensive impact. He's only getting better. He's only getting older, more mature. He's only filling out his body more. So yeah, we can file him away for another year, but especially Edwards and SGA. If you look at it this year, Edwards 26-5-5. The Wolves are one game out of the 1 seed. He's only 22. And he's already leading this team. Like, yes, they have Gobert, who's probably Defensive Player of the Year. Yes, they have Naz Reid, 6th Man of the Year candidate. Yes, they have Karl Anthony Towns, pretty good offensive guy. But Edwards is really leading this team to mid-50s, almost 60 wins, which is very impressive at 22 years old. And then SGA, he's averaging 35-6 right now, career best 36% from 3. And Oklahoma City just clinched the 1 seed today. He's 25 years old. And they're going to be a perennial contender for the next 10 years easily if they keep this core together. So I think this is one of those seasons we look back and we're like, that's where they took their first step into superstardom. What do you think?
I think you're 100% right. I think you look back on the Anthony Edwards jump. I think that's the one that's going to jump out more to people because it's more flashy. Yeah. It was a little more in your face. The Thunder, I think it's more as the collective and as the franchise because they've been tanking for so long. They've been just stacking draft picks and stacking players, and it finally culminated into this one great season for them. Now they're the 1 seed in the West. But I think that gets remembered more than maybe SGA's individual jump. But I think what the sad part about this, I think what it boils down to is what happens this month in the playoffs. If one or both of these guys go out on an early playoff exit, does that get remembered as fondly? Probably not. It's maybe not. I think Edwards, if he goes out and the Timberwolves go out, I don't think that gets remembered as fondly. The Thunder are playing with house money. Yes, you lose as a 1 seed. They're probably going to play, the Lakers in the first round, what it seems like.
Yeah.
That one, it doesn't taint it as much, but it is going to leave a bad taste in people's mouth when you're like, okay, the Thunder are here. They're here to stay. Let's say the Lakers come in and win 4-1. I don't think they will. I don't think they will. But then does that taint it as much? And I think it might a little bit, but not fully.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Not fully. Just because if you would have given, a lot of these OKC fans like, hey, you're going to be the number 1 seed. We're not going to tell you what happens during the playoffs, but just you're going to win the regular season in the West. They're taking that 10 out of 10 times. No questions asked, especially this year.
Yeah, 100%. But then going to the Timberwolves side, let's say it's Timberwolves Pelicans, and let's say Zion, Jose Alvarado, and the New Orleans and CJ McCollum and the New Orleans Pelicans upset the Timberwolves. I think it's going to be that's going to be remembered. That's going to be absolute choke job. This, that, whatever. The Timberwolves are going to get absolutely trashed in the media. No one's going to care that they finished second in the West this season. It's going to be, you guys lost to the freaking New Orleans Pelicans. Nobody's ever going to believe in you. What's your next move? How do you build around Anthony Edwards going forward?
Yeah. Which I don't necessarily agree with all that. Like, if that is the reaction, then it's like the West is so stacked this year. New Orleans is a good team. Like, talent-wise, New Orleans is a great team. They were like, top 5 in the West the majority of the year. But we might look back on this and be like, okay, Wolves' disappointment in the playoffs. This is when they trade Karl Anthony Towns. Like, that might be what we look back and view this on. As far as the players go, I wanted to compare it to like just about a decade ago when we were like growing up watching basketball, where it was like 2013, 14, 15. Those years of like, oh, Steph Curry's arrived. James Harden's leading the league in scoring every year. Russell Westbrook's averaging a triple-double. Even Durant, like, more towards his prime. Kawhi Leonard. Like, those younger guys, those few years is when they took that next step to like, okay, we're here. We're the top of the league. We are now like the face of the NBA right now, along with some of the older guys. But now, 10 years later, a lot of those guys are still the face of the league. Obviously, Westbrook's fallen off a little bit, but Harden's still considered pretty good. Curry's still face of the league. Kawhi Leonard, when he's healthy, is still one of the best players in the league. So I think that is like a pretty good comparison to Anthony Edwards, SGA, and then maybe Luka Doncic, even though he's already been good the last couple of years. Like that kind of next class of NBA superstars. And there'll be one or two coming in the future. But
next year out of Duke, baby. Next year out of Duke.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I don't even know if there's much more to add to that. It does feel like we're like, okay, we're seeing that superstardom jump. This is kind of this next class we're looking at. It's SGA's not an American, but Anthony Edwards is the American superstar you're looking at and saying, okay, it's your turn to carry that torch as the American superstar. Can guys like Cooper Flagg come in and do it? We'll see, but he's the guy. I mean, it's him and Tatum, I guess, right now.
Yeah, I would say so. And he's only 22, like I mentioned earlier. Edwards.
That's
is
what I'm saying. He's so young.
Old, but he's good enough to where, like, him and SGA, who's 25, like, they've reached this level to where, yes, it's amazing they're this good this early, but now comes that pressure of, like, okay, how long until we start talking about they haven't won anything? How long until we start talking about they haven't made the second round? They haven't made the conference finals? Like, that's going to be a conversation that's had much younger with them just because they've made that leap this much sooner in their career.
I would not be surprised. It won't happen with either of them this year, but it will happen with the Timberwolves franchise and the Karl Anthony Towns piece of it if they do lose early, if they do have a first-round exit this year.
Well, if they have this amazing regular season, almost get the 1 seed, and then all this trouble with the ownership and Glenn Taylor with Alex Rodriguez and all this drama behind the scenes, like, that's a recipe for, not great. I don't know.
Yep. Real quick, this season, 2023-24 regular season, singular favorite moments.
So I wrote down one of my first ones was Anthony Edwards' dunk on John Collins.
Yep.
Because that took social media by storm.
1-1. One of the coolest plays. That's one of those you're watching YouTube highlights 15, 20 years from now, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, that Anthony Edwards dunk.
Yep, I completely agree. And when it happened, it was like a tough, it wasn't just like, oh, fast break, let me cock back. Like, he caught it on the run, 1-2 step. Oh, yeah, it was nasty, disgusting. That was number one moment of this season, I think.
Yep. Draymond, Rudy Gobert. Just the picture, the chokehold. That's unbelievable. That's going to go down in NBA history.
And then him getting suspended and going to therapy and all this remediation stuff, and then coming back and then doing pretty much the same thing. Like, he's still doing dirty plays. Like,
100%.
It lasted like a week. Yeah.
What else you got?
I got Adrian Griffin being fired midseason by the Bucks. He was 30-13 as the Bucks head coach at the time. And if you look at it, they're 17-19 under Doc Rivers since that moment. That's not great. Giannis is banged up going into round 1. Again, got hurt against Miami in game 1 last year. He's not 100% for the playoffs again. This smells like first round upset. Middleton only played 54 games, and Lillard's only getting older. So it's like, are we going to look back at this and be like, this was Giannis's last run in a Bucks uniform? Like, is it going to get to that level? I don't know. I feel like Adrian Griffin being fired when they were first in the East, or almost first in the East behind Boston, not a great moment.
Yeah, I that one's on there. I mean, I think the Doc Rivers hire might be better than just getting fired because Doc Rivers didn't want the job, and they're like, well, if you're gonna pay me this much money, I guess I gotta take it. I don't want to leave my couch, but fine, I guess I'll go coach and do a terrible job at it. You mentioned this off the air, but Halliburton and the Pacers in-season tournament run. That'll be like an NBA trivia question from years to come. Be like, who played in the inaugural NBA in-season tournament final?
Yeah, exactly. And
the final.
Yeah. And during that stretch, like I almost included Halliburton in that group with SGA and Anthony Edwards. If you're just basing it off the first half of the season, but then he gets hurt and has an injury and rushes back for the 65-game minimum. You know the story. But that run to the in-season tournament, I was like, oh my God, this Pacers team, they might make a little noise. Like, they're putting up like 140 points in some of these games. I don't know. That week was insane. And then all of us Halliburton in-season tournament MVP finals ticket holders, brutal. 70-1, brutal.
Yep. This isn't a singular moment, and we also talked about this one on the air. You also mentioned this one was Zion playing 70-plus games. I don't think either of us saw that one coming, especially if you watched early on in the year. You're like, dude, this guy doesn't give a crap. He's out of shape. He kind of did the Raymond Felton where he came into the season fat and played himself into shape. Because he's easily lost 20 pounds. 20 pounds. I went to a Jazz Pelicans game, sat like 7th, 8th row from the court back in November. I was like, he looks a little husky. We were close to the court, and he didn't give a crap that whole game. I was at Suns Pelicans last Sunday in Phoenix. Totally different player. I'm locked in. You're like, this guy's flying all over the court. He's actually playing sneaky, really good defense. Like getting quite a bit of
6 steals the other night.
Yeah, and he had 5 blocks against the Suns in that game. So there's that. I was going to ask you this. Zion, having this continued success this season, how much do you attribute to him being not as horny or getting into shape?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm going to split that 50-50, not getting somebody
50,
pregnant.
50.
Surprising, I feel like that's, a big mental toll. The pregnancy announcement that happened, last year?
Yeah. Yeah, I would go 75-25. I think the fat thing I think getting in shape matters more. But because I think all these NBA guys are ridiculously horny.
Well, you can go through some of their
scarily horny, scary Terry horny.
You can get through some of their Twitter likes and just figure that out for yourself. Yeah,
yeah. You can go on there. Who was the player? Gary Payton. Did you see that on Twitter?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes. He followed 50 porn accounts, and it was on his main account, dude. Not even a burner.
Yeah, Gary Payton. I mean, it was like blatant, and it's just there's don't check Gary Payton's following list, and you're like, oh my gosh. But man,
I got another one. This one's more on the negative end. Pistons record-breaking 28-game losing streak.
Oh, the Wingstop
beat the Raptors. Yeah, and they finally beat the Raptors, and it felt like an NBA Finals Game 7. Guys are on the court, exhausted. Cade Cunningham was pumping his jersey. It felt like a Finals game.
That's how it felt for me when the Hornets beat the Jazz in Utah, the most useless win ever. Man.
Oh, that's good.
Anything else?
Yeah, I had two more. Clippers insane run after trading for Harden. They went 17-3 over a 20-game stretch. But it looked like the best team in the league hands down.
I want to give us credit because we didn't buy into the hype.
We didn't. We were like, ooh, is this going to work out? It might look good for a little while, but I don't know if this can be sustained. And sure enough, all comes down to health.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think I might be the Clippers whisperer because before the season I said, okay, this number is a little too low. Let's buy in, guys. Mm-hmm. Let's buy in. Let's get this win total over. And then halfway through the season, everyone's like, oh my gosh, look how the Clippers are playing in January. Can they be? They're probably going to win the finals. Who's beating them? Maybe the Celtics. And you're like, trust me, I've seen this story. This is the time to sell high on the Clippers. This is one of those crap crypto coins. This is Dogecoin. Sell.
This is
get out as soon as possible. Yes, exactly. They're gonna make movies about the Clippers. It's called Dumb Money. That's what it's just dumb Clippers. So yeah, great call by us on the Clippers. What was your last one?
Last one is this is a bonus one for us Hornets fans. The Eric Collins "I love Leaky" call on the night the Hornets upset the Timberwolves in Minnesota when Cat dropped 62. Just an amazing game. And that same night, Embiid dropped 70, and then later that week, Lucas 73, Booker 64. So 4 of the top 5 highest scoring games this year were in 4 days. I think that contributed a little bit to the rule change. The fouls not being called as much. The NBA was like, we got to do something about this. Adam Silver stepped in.
I'm a Duke fan. You're a Carolina fan. As fans of those teams, if someone would have told you that Leaky Black, Marquise Bolden, Jack White are going to be playing Pete Nance are going to be playing legitimate NBA minutes. But meanwhile, guys like Jahlil Okafor and Nas Little are kind of getting pushed out. Well,
yeah,
Jahlil Okafor's out, but...
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I would have choked on whatever I was drinking. I'd been like, you are smoking something crazy. And I love Leaky Black. 5-year guy. He was great. But I was like, he's never going to play meaningful NBA minutes. Nothing against him. I just didn't think he had it. And here we are.
I think Jack White has the most second disrespectful ESPN graphic ever. I think the most disrespectful sports graphic on a live game was Virginia basketball hasn't scored since 9:28 p.m. Eastern time. That one was in the play-in tournament this year. But during the Duke Zion year, Jack White missed 31 threes in a row or something like that, and they just had a Jack White missed threes counter. He could not hit a three. And now he won an NBA ring with the Nuggets. All right, going off that, speaking of surprises, let's do the biggest surprises of this 2023-2024 NBA regular season. I'll go first. I think the Orlando Magic are the right answer. I think we picked over on their win total. We'll have to get stats department on that. I think we said slide over. I don't think we like the number. I think it was 38.5 wins. Easy, clear that. The Magic are in the legitimate playoffs. I think they're the 5 overall seed, if I remember, 4-5 in there. It's all jumbled up. It's kind of like the 2016 playoffs where 3 through 7 are all or 3 through 6 are all the same record. But yeah, no, the Magic, they're easily one of the biggest surprises.
I think so too. I had them written down number 1. If you go looking coming to the year, we were like, okay, they might be a play-in team. They'll be competing for that 9, 10, maybe 8 spot. They're a legitimate playoff team this year. They clinched the 5 seed. They're playing the Cavs in the first round. And Paolo, at such a young age, has led this team to this record. I mean, he's been huge for them. His usage percentage is through the roof. Franz Wagner's actually taken a step back the second half of the season. But, once again, Jalen Suggs, Jonathan Isaac, just absolute monsters on defense.
Yep.
Cole Anthony off the bench. Their bench unit is legit. They're a legitimate 10, 11 guys deep most nights. It's fun to watch. Now, they are in the the epitome of the NBA TV series in round 1. But I am going to be tuned into that because their defense is fun to watch.
You think that's the NBA? I think it's Bucks Pacers.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
Well, let's be honest. We don't have the 1-8 matchups yet, so it's going to be whoever the Knicks playoff games are too interesting because there's storylines there, but
and it's probably going to be Boston Miami 1-8, so that's also interesting.
But let's say if it's Celtics Bulls somehow.
Oh yeah, or Celtics Hawks somehow.
Yeah. If it's not Miami's a disaster. Ask any Celtics fan. They're like anybody but Miami. We'll steamroll to the finals. No problem. We're going to sleepwalk. We might lose one game on the way to the finals as long as we don't have to play the Miami effing Heat in the playoffs in the first round. That's all they care about.
And what's so funny is
they're praying they beat the Sixers.
And what's funny is Drew Holiday got added to Boston this year. But guess what? The Heat beat the Bucks in round 1 last year to end his season. Yep. So it's just ghosts all around. I agree with the Magic. I want to stick in the Eastern Conference here. I'm going to go with the New York Knicks as one of my biggest surprises this year. If you look at Jalen Brunson's numbers, I mean, it is unbelievable. When he left Dallas, I was in the majority of people were like, he got overpaid, period. Bad contract.
Oh, 100%.
They overpaid for him. He's not number 1 guy. I was in that camp. I'll own up to it. This year, Jalen Brunson's averaging almost 29 points, 4 boards, 6.5 assists, 40% from 3 with a career-high 7 attempts per game. And they just clinched the number 2 seed today. That is bonkers for Jalen Brunson. From Villanova, the number 2 to Luka Doncic in Dallas for a few years. That same guy. That's crazy to me. And, I thought the Knicks were going to be competing for the play-in, maybe the 6th seed. They're legitimately, top 3 team in the East, hands down. Even without Julius Randle, which hurts. But even they've still been playing well.
Speaking of the Knicks and them getting the 2 seed and everything, I'm sure you saw, I think it was KOC tweeted it out, that you should be able to pick where, if you're a higher seed, you should be able to pick your matchups in the playoffs. Should higher seeds in the NBA playoffs be able to pick who they play, or do you think it should just solely be based off seeding still?
No, I still think it's seeding. I don't think you can make that drastic of a change. If you're talking about like maybe you can get some weird caveats with the play-in tournament where it's like, okay, if you win the play-in tournament, you get to pick, your matchup or something like that. I don't know. But as far as just the normal regular season goes, I don't think so. What do you think?
I think the 1 seed should get to pick the play-in. They want to play, and that's it.
Really?
Out of the 2 play-ins, I think the 1 seed should get to pick who they want. I also think it would just make for great TV. You remember that's the all-time bulletin board material. Imagine the Celtics are like, we want to play the Hawks. They suck, and the Hawks are all right. Like or the Celtics for some reason they were like, we want to play the Heat over the Sixers, and they're like, Heat. That's all-time bulletin board material for the Heat. I think it would just be entertaining, but outside of the 1 seeds, no, you don't get to pick. You shouldn't get. I know people get upset with the jerry rigging of the Cavs losing to the Hornets on purpose today, so they avoid the Sixers and get to play the Magic kind of thing. But like, that's been happening. Like, that's nothing new.
Yeah, that's nothing new at all. But I will say, I think we will see a little bit of motivation just because of that exact example where the Cavs clearly tanked today against Charlotte just to play Orlando. And Orlando's the type of team, they're young and they're hungry. They're going to use that. That is primetime peak motivation. They didn't need any more motivation as it is. But you don't think Jalen Suggs is going to see that, or Jonathan Isaac, or Paolo, or Franz Wagner, and be like, oh, what the hell? Like, we're about to go 10 times harder now. I think that's perfect, like you said, bulletin board material. From the Western Conference, real quick, one of my surprises was the Mavericks.
Yes.
Obviously, we can obviously say the Thunder and the T-Wolves. Like, nobody thought they'd be this good. But the Mavericks, I thought this Kyrie contract, this whole situation with Luka, I thought it was going to be a train wreck. Like, I wasn't, like, horrified they paid Kyrie that much, but I just thought he was past his prime. If you look at his numbers this year, Carter, Kyrie, it has to be mentioned. 25.5 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, basically 50, 40, 90. He only played 58 games, but he's been here when it matters. And the number one thing with the Mavs, Luka trusts him as his number 2. When Luka's off the court, when Luka's, a little bit gassed, takes the possession off, he is 100% comfortable being, hey, Kyrie, your possession, you cook, you take the big shot. Even at the end of these games, like that left-handed hook floater, that play was drawn up for Kyrie to get the ball going to the basket. Wasn't drawn up for Luka, who's a top 3 player in the league. It was for Kyrie. Like, that trust is huge going into the playoffs, and they killed the trade deadline with Gafford and PJ Washington. Just great resurgence this year for the Mavs, and I love them in round 1. Sneak peek.
Yeah, no, I do too. I think the Mavericks are a huge surprise. It's not even as much as the Mavericks. It's that Kyrie hasn't been in controversy.
That's the thing. We finally got a normal Kyrie basketball season after his injuries in Boston. Didn't play in the playoffs, really. The Brooklyn fiasco with Durant and Harden, where he wouldn't take the vaccine, could only play in away games, and that big 3 split up after playing 10 games together. Never got over the hump. And I just thought that was it. I was like, oh, Kyrie's going to get some, a few 50-point games, but never going to play meaningful playoff basketball again. Here we are. They're going to make a run.
Yep. Real quick, let's go through biggest disappointments, and then we'll get into some other stuff real quick. Biggest disappointments. I'll brief. I've got a few.
Hit me.
I think one should be stated. I know it's not like the biggest one, not number one. The Hornets need to be on this list.
Yes.
They should. The Hornets should have been at least a play-in team. They should not be a team competing for the number 1 overall pick. Hornets 1,000% should be on this list.
In a season where the 10 seed in the East has 36 wins, so they're 36 and 46, how the hell did the Hornets not get 36 wins with that roster? I know the health factor, but oh my God, you got like Mark Williams going out with an injury and all of a sudden it's bone related, and then LaMelo's got his glass ankles from all those days playing with the big baller brand shoes on. It's brutal. We wasted a great rookie year from Brandon Miller. I'll say that.
And I think the Western Conference trio are all disappointments. The Warriors, the Suns, and the Lakers. The Suns not as much, because if the Suns end up in the play-in, yes, so it's not as much, but I mean let's look at it here. They have Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker, and they are tied with the Pelicans for being the 6-7 spot. That should not be okay. Like, if they were 1 game away from being in the play-in, this team is way more talented than that. They should at least be in that 4-5 matchup, kind of where the Mavericks are and the Clippers, where they're guaranteed a playoff spot. They're guaranteed to be in. They shouldn't have been sweating that this close to the season. I think they're a slight disappointment. Lakers and Warriors, I think, are much bigger disappointments in my eyes.
Yeah, I'm exactly with you on that one. I wrote down the Lakers. But real quick on the Suns, if you look at the Western standings, I mean, who should they have leapfrogged realistically? I mean, I know
the Mavericks.
Durant, Booker. Well, I know Durant, Booker, Beal, yeah, maybe the Mavs, maybe the Clippers, but the West is so stacked. I almost can't fault them for that. Like, yes, I expected them to have 50 wins, maybe 45, but the West is so stacked, Carter. I just don't even know who I would like expect them to leapfrog. Like coming into the year, legitimately there was like 10 teams where I'm like, okay, I could see them in the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, no, 100%. I almost still feel that way. You could tell me any team wins any of these series, 1 through 10. You tell me any of them win their first round series, wouldn't surprise me. That's the craziest part about the Western Conference playoffs. You tell me the Warriors came in and upset the Thunder somehow, I think I'd be like, oh, but I wouldn't be like, holy crap, no way. That's one of the craziest upsets. Like, the Thunder are probably minus 150 to win that series, minus 160 if that ends up happening.
I'm with you.
Like, if you look at these series prices in the Western Conference right now, Mavs Clippers basically even money. Mavs minus 120. You look at Suns Timberwolves, it's minus 120 for the Suns. Like, the Suns are the underdog. The Suns are the 6th seed, and they're still favored over the Timberwolves. Like, it's crazy. So I guess you're right there with the Suns. Lakers 100% are disappointment, and the Warriors, we don't have to get into them, but we can touch on the Lakers real quick.
Yeah, if you would have told me coming into the year that LeBron and AD are going to play 75 games each, and the Lakers are going to be in the play-in tournament, maybe not even a guaranteed playoff spot, I wouldn't have believed you. Because that was the whole argument coming into the year was, I like this Lakers roster, I like this group. If they can stay healthy, if LeBron and AD can avoid major injury, then I think they'll make some noise. That happened. They're still in the play-in. So I think that's worth mentioning as a disappointment.
Bucks should be in this, but not as much because the East is so butt cheeks, basically. Like,
we can save the Bucks disappointment for after the playoffs because they're going to get bounced round one.
Yeah, they're a playoff one. They're a playoff one. You're like, okay, if they don't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, absolute disappointment, no questions asked. 100%.
That Giannis trade request next summer is going to hit like crack, let me tell you.
Yes. I have a take I want to get off, though, real quick. I know I've been college basketball Carter for the last month and a half, and maybe I still am, but I think the college sports offseason is now more entertaining than the NBA free agency. Now, I think it really – like the transfer portal, coaching carousel, and everything. But it all depends on what sport you like more, obviously. But it is just fascinating. It's like, it's just bang, 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 bang. It's like NBA free agency on steroids all the time. I think a lot of it's a lot more meaningless, but but I think the college transfer portal and coaching carousel hurts a lot more than NBA free agency.
I think that's a pretty good take, especially if it's going to be like the trade deadline this year, because the NBA trade deadline was complete ass this year. And if the offseason's anything like that, I'm with you.
Terrible. I mean, like, think about it. Like, when Seth Trimble enters the portal for Carolina, you're like, oh.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot more, like, fan bases specific stuff where it's like, okay, if I'm a Hornets fan and a couple guys leaving free agency, like, yeah, I'm bummed. But if you're like a guy for like Carolina, like Seth Trimble, he's been there for 2 years, been a vital part of some of these really good teams. It's like, oh my God, like he's leaving? Like that's a shocker. Like there's no contracts, there's no like contract expirations. Like, oh, he's an expiring, so he's probably going to get dealt at the deadline. Or he's an upcoming free agent, so we might have a chance to sign him. Or he's going to walk. There's none of that. Like in college, it's a complete surprise where it's like, oh, he entered the transfer portal. There's no contracts, so you have no idea when it's coming.
Yeah. Do you think we ever become like? I think in the NBA, whenever a free agent leaves or requests a trade, I think we're almost numb to it at this point. We're almost expecting that Shams and Woj notifications hitting our phones. Do you ever think we become numb to it in the college transfer portal? Because I feel like if it's any of your starting players, like I feel like it's always just going to hurt forever for some reason with college sports.
Yeah, so I don't want to say we're there yet, but I do think we will get there. And it won't be too far in the future because even last year with Carolina, the whole Caleb Love, RJ Davis thing didn't work out last year. And so I had a feeling that maybe one of them would leave. And Caleb Love announced he was transferring, and it still hit me. I was like, oh my God, like he hit the shot over Mark Williams in the Final Four against Duke. Like this is a through and through Tar Heel, and he's going to play for somebody else in college? Like that was shocking to me. But now it's to the point where it's like, okay, this guy's been on the bench for 2 years. We have a really talented freshman coming in. Maybe he transfers. Like I'm starting to expect like, oh, Trimble's going to transfer because RJ Davis is coming back or all these people are coming back. Whereas that's different than free agency where you're like, these guys have defined roles. They don't always leave for like, they would leave for more money. But the guys in college are leaving because, hey, I've been buried on the bench. I don't have a chance to start. And it's still a shock. It's still a complete shock.
Well, and also it's for more money too. And
yeah, the NIL does change that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's for the more money part of it. But yeah, and I think you mentioned like with the no contract stuff, it's just every time it's like all of a sudden you're like, it's just you technically never know, and these guys are just have this wild freedom, and so that part of it's really interesting. But yeah, I just thought about that. I was like, oh yeah.
The
anyhow,
continuity does suck.
Go ahead.
Like now that we're starting to expect these transfers, not to do too much college basketball, but now that we're starting to expect these transfers, it is becoming more like the NBA. To where like the continuity is like it can change in the whole offseason. A team's entire identity can change in the offseason. Whereas, 10 years ago it was let's develop this guy for 2.5, 3 years, and then that fourth year, that senior year, like it's his time. Like let's start him. Now it's all about getting guys to the NBA as quick as possible. And if you don't have a role on the team, hit the transfer portal. Period.
Yeah, so. I think the UConn model is what everyone's going to try, obviously, because they won back-to-back titles. Yeah. But where you get you just have to accept to get these. Hey, I'm going to get a junior for 2 to 3 years. I'm going to get a guy who's been in college basketball for 3 years. He's probably a borderline NBA guy, kind of like a Tristan Newton. I'll bring him in from Eastern Carolina. I'll get him for 2 to 3 years, and then I'm guaranteed to have an experienced player and whatnot. But we're getting too much into the college basketball league, so let's keep it on the NBA. Real quick, win totals. The ones we posted on social media, we did put money on these. So I went 3-2. You went 4-1, I believe, if we're looking correctly.
So obviously for both of us, the Hornets was a big miss.
Big miss. That was our mortal lock.
Yeah, that was brutal. And then I hit Celtics over, Suns under, Spurs under, and Raptors under. So faded those bad teams. That worked for me. And then you were 3-2, right?
Yeah, Suns under. I loved that one.
Yeah, that was a great one.
It's Pelicans over hit, Hawks and Hornets missed, and then Raptors under as well. Next year, do we just go under on every team?
That's the thing.
Let's just teams we know that are tanking. I feel like if you just take I feel like every year you expect 6 to 7 teams to be roughly in that tank range. I feel like you go 5-2 no matter what if you do that.
I think that's fair, just because the talent level in the league and the parity in the league is so high to where it's like these bad teams don't have as good of a chance of beating these mid-tier teams. Like the Cavs, they're like, what, the 4 seed, or the Mavs, they're the 5 seed? No chance in hell where the Wizards or the Pistons going to have a chance to beat them on a random Tuesday night in December. Like, that's just not going to happen as much as it used to. And I think the books maybe adjust to that a little bit next year. But I think you're right. I think if we just pick out what teams we think are going to be like lottery teams, early lottery teams, we'll probably go 4-3, 5-2.
Yeah, because I feel like we're going to end up be like, ooh, Blazers under next year. Blazers under. They're going to tank for Cooper Flag or whatever. But then, Scoot Henderson comes out the first 10 games, and they're like, the Blazers are 7-3. Scoot Henderson is a problem. And then they end up as the 13th, 14th overall seed in the West when it's all said and done. They're not the Rockets this year, but kind of like the Rockets. Because the Rockets were kind of close, but
spot on.
We all knew it wasn't real the whole time. But anything? Who's the MVP in the NBA this year? Is it Jokic?
Yeah, I'm going Jokic. 26.5, 12, and 9.5 assists. Leads the league in PER. Other than Embiid, he only played 39 games. But I think it's got to be Jokic. I mean, there was a period where he was just coasting, getting 30-point triple doubles every night without Jamal Murray. And they were the 3 seed or the 2 seed, but they were 1 game out of 500 or 1 game out of the 1 seed. So I don't think I know SGA's got some buzz, but I don't know if you can use the whole OKC's the 1 seed as your argument. I think Jokic just had one of those years where it's not really much of a debate. And next year, I like Luka to bring it home next year, but he came on too late this year.
Yeah, and I think the 1 seed argument would be different. Let's say if the Thunder had the Celtics record, where the Thunder won 60-plus games and they were they were head and shoulders above everyone else. The Nuggets basically did not care the last 3 games of the season. So therefore, if the Nuggets wanted that number 1 overall seed, they would have gotten it, kind of thing. That Spurs game, they were half asleep in that Spurs game. They went up 23, and they're like, all right, just put the car on auto, just put it on autopilot. We don't need to play the rest of the game. We don't care. And then they got caught red-handed, but I mean, it doesn't matter. 1-2, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they were all right there. I just don't think there's going to be the voter fatigue. We always have this discourse where it's can we look back in history and Jokic won 3 out of 4 years? Jokic winning a 3rd MVP puts him in a very elite group. There's only a few guys to have done that. So all these history protectors, the gatekeepers of the NBA history, they're going to be like, I don't know if Jokic is at that level yet of like an all-time great. I hate to say it, but he is. These seasons he's putting up, and winning the finals last year, bringing home finals MVP, that puts him up in that upper echelon. It does. It just does. And people in the present right now aren't going to see that.
That second title will do it. If they can go back-to-back this year, that'll do it. We'll get into more playoff stuff here in a minute.
Yeah.
Last thing I had on this, for the MVP, I really think it boils down to, okay, just take the player off this team. How much worse are they? I think the Thunder you take SGA off the Thunder, I still think they're a really, really good team. If you take Jokic off the Nuggets, what is this team? Like, they're basically the Utah Jazz, essentially. Like, Jamal Murray's awesome, but Michael Porter Jr. doesn't take you very far. Aaron Gordon's mainly successful due to how good Jokic is. He's very reliant on Jokic's passing for his career success. So it's Jokic 100 times out of 100. I don't think it's close.
My only pushback on that would be if you're using that argument, I might choose Luka, because the Mavs without Luka would be like a lottery team. Period.
You think even if Kyrie plays all year?
Yeah, I don't think it matters. I think Kyrie as number 2 is so much better than Kyrie as number 1 and the only option. There's no question in my mind.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe Luka may have should have gotten more buzz.
I don't hate that. The way the Mavs have picked it up after the deadline, they're a 50-win team. They've really picked it up. Rookie of the year, real quick. I think it's Wemby, no question.
Yep.
No argument there.
Shout out Brandon Miller.
Player. Yeah, shout out Brandon Miller for making it, a conversation. Most improved player. We have some money on Tyrese Maxey that we really hope comes to fruition. But there's been a lot of Kobe White buzz. I kind of...
No. Stop. Not unbiased.
Karter,
no, suck. No. No. There's no such thing as an unbiased blah, 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 because you're sitting here with a Kobe White ticket and a Tyrese Maxey ticket, and you're a Kobe White fanboy lover and a Carolina graduate. There's not such thing as unbiased. We're all biased. I'm out here admitting my biases. Tyrese Maxey's most improved player. No questions asked.
Well,
let's move on.
Let me ask you a quick question about the award in general then. We all knew Maxey was going to be good when Harden got traded. We knew he would get the keys to the car and the keys to the 76ers offense. Kobe White was out of the Bulls rotation for certain parts last year. I thought he was done in Chicago. I thought he was going to be buried on the bench for the next few years. He has gone from 23 to 36 minutes a game and increased his points per game by over 10. He was out of the rotation at certain points last year. He is their offense in most of these games these days. I'm not saying you
it's still Tyrese Maxey.
I don't know. I guess.
Tyrese Maxey, he's the second best player clearly on that Sixers team.
He is, but they're a playing team. So are the Bulls.
Yeah, but there's two different kind of playing teams.
I know.
No. We need. Let me have one. I have been getting dogged recently. Let me have this Tyrese Maxey most improved.
Set the prayer candles up. Defensive player of the year, go Bear, I think. It'll be the last year that Wemby doesn't win it for a while, though, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. Is Wemby minus odds next year?
I think he has to be. I think he's going to be like minus 120 preseason. Because the only way he doesn't win it is if there's an injury. Sixth man of the year, I think Naz Reid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Who else would... I mean...
Malik Monk was getting buzzed there for a while, then he got hurt and missed the last few weeks, so can't be him. But the Wolves are so good, and then Naz Reid comes in and just instant offense. You don't lose much whenever he comes in for Towns or Gobert, so I think he's... It's
going to be interesting how much he plays in that Suns series. We'll get into that. We'll talk about Suns T-Wolves in a second. Let's talk about these play-in games real quick.
All right, let's go.
We're not going to sit here and break down and preview all of these. Real quick, the lines came out for the game. Lakers -1 against the Pelicans in New Orleans. I actually like the Pelicans money line there. I know that it seems like the Lakers... At Lakers +2?
Lakers were +2 when it opened today.
Yeah. Oh, well then, Lakers -1. I think I still like the Pelicans there. I know like every big game, the Lakers have kind of killed the Pelicans, but I feel like this is the one the Pelicans get back, and I feel like they create the LeBron. I think like this becomes our last like LeBron, Steph, semi-big game, I guess, but we'll get Lakers Warriors in the Western Conference, and I think Pelicans win on Tuesday night.
So you're not worried about the Pelicans just completely folding in every big game they played this year? In-season tournament final, game today, Like, there's been multiple occasions where the Pelicans have, like, folded in a big game scenario.
No, I'm not like if you're betting the game, don't follow my advice whatsoever. Do not follow my advice whatsoever. It almost doesn't make sense because and also every big game they've played has been against the Lakers and they've lost by 400 in all of those games.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's fair.
If you're smart, you take the Lakers, but for some reason I just think the Lakers are going to play that rigging game of I think we want to see the Thunder and that we don't want to see the Nuggets.
But that is a big – see, I thought that at first too, but that's a big risk to take because all of a sudden let's say you fold in the game to the Pelicans and you're like, I'd rather see OKC in round one. Then you're going up against probably Golden State, and you're one Steph Curry 10 3-pointer game away from your season being over.
But the Warriors never win that game against the Lakers, it feels like. But
you can't take that risk, even with all the problems.
No, I don't think you can take that risk. But yeah, but I think if the Lakers want any chance at winning in that first round, they got to match up with the Thunder because I'll be honest, if they play the Nuggets, if it's Nuggets Lakers, it's 4-1, 4-0. This does not go to 6 games.
I think you're right because people are like, "Oh, those games were close last year." Like, even though it was
that was the greatest 4-0 sweep we have ever seen. You're like, okay,
doesn't matter.
Sorry, Bronsexual, it doesn't matter. You got swept. It does not matter. You lost 4 straight games. There shouldn't be any moral victories for the Los Angeles Lakers and LeBron James for a 4-0 sweep. Why are we doing this? Lakers get swept by the Nuggets probably.
Here's my take. I think Lakers win. They play Nuggets in the first round, and I think the Pelicans get the 8th seed. And I think they take OKC to 7 games.
I could see that. I could see that being fun. So refresh me real quick. Brandon Ingram. He's out, right?
He came back today. He returned today against the Lakers. So he is back. Willie Green said he wasn't on a minutes limit, but it was just like some conditioning stuff because he hasn't played in a few weeks.
I was about to say because I was wondering about the minutes restriction. I was like, okay, so is he like fully back? What's going on here? Okay.
Apparently he's fully back, but you know how it goes with these guys that come back at the end of the season. It takes a minute to get back in the rhythm, especially with a black hole offensive player like Brandon Ingram.
And especially in a freaking NBA playoff games. Or play-in, sorry, but same thing.
That could hurt them. As good as Ingram is, that could hurt them. Because the Pelicans have been playing pretty well with Trey Murphy shooting 10 threes a game, spacing the floor. But, I don't know.
And
I don't know.
Yeah, no, we'll see. But in the East, I'll be honest, I don't care. It's probably going to be Sixers Heat. I don't see Bulls or Hawks making it. Out of these play-in teams, which one do you think has the best chance of going furthest in the playoffs?
I think without a doubt it's the Philadelphia 76ers. I think if you're getting a near healthy Joel Embiid for this, they win the 7-8 against the Heat. They match up with the Knicks. I think the Sixers can beat the Knicks in a first-round series. Sorry, Knicks fans. It's been a great year. But no Julius Randle, no true secondary scoring option. And then who's guarding Embiid? Mitchell Robinson's playing, 15 minutes a game since he came back? Precious Achua, Isaiah Hartenstein, Josh Hart. Who's guarding Embiid? I don't see it. I think they can beat the Knicks in the first round. And then all of a sudden you're looking at the winner of the Pacers-Bucks, which could very well be Indiana. I think the Sixers are licking their chops at either one of those matchups. That Bucks defense is horrid, even with Giannis not at 100%. So my pick is hands down the 76ers to make the Eastern Conference Finals. And they're 8-0 in their last 8.
Like, if the Heat win, if the Heat beat the Sixers, you're all of a sudden talking yourself into, this team could make the finals again. There's a path.
Well, that's the thing. The bottom of that Eastern Conference playoff bracket, there is a wide open path, a runway to the Eastern Conference Finals for whoever makes it out of that 7-8 game.
Yes, I think the Sixers is the right answer. I think the Western Conference, whoever gets the 7 seed is just, you're toast. Like,
I think so too.
Lakers, Pelicans, whoever wins that game, you're just like, all right, like, cast them out to an island. It's whoever gets that 8 seed against the Thunder, I think has a chance to beat the Thunder. Like, I don't think the Thunder are going to be more than, if they get the Pelicans, they might be like minus 180, minus 190 to win the series. But if it's Lakers, Kings, or Warriors, I don't think it's more than minus 160, minus 150 for the Thunder.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But if you're looking at like a first round like entertainment value matchup, if the Pelicans do get the 8 seed against the Thunder, that's 2 young teams who haven't really proven anything. That's gonna be awesome.
There is not one bad Western Conference series. Whatever happens in the play-in, everything. Like, I think we talked about this before. 1 through 10 can win a first-round playoff series.
Well, the Kings.
The Kings can beat the Thunder.
I think that would be the only one I'd be truly shocked at.
They have to get hot. They have to get hot. They have to get
But
almost play
Malik
like they
Monk
did
being
against the
out.
Warriors. Yeah, is he for sure out for the playoffs?
Like a few weeks at least. Like he'd miss the first round.
Oh, okay. Oh, then yeah, they're toast.
Yeah, that would be the only one I'd be surprised.
I don't see them getting past the Warriors and the Lakers and Pelicans anyway. So, but
I don't either.
I'm excited. I really hope we get to see the Pelicans in it. Not because I don't like watching Brandon Ingram, but I want to see playoff Zion. I want to see if Zion can actually step up in legit top tier games for once. I want to finally see it instead of being like,
you're not scared he'll fold.
well, we'll see. He's got 2 games to
Yeah.
fold, and if he does it, then the narrative gets to run wild, which it should. If you can't win 2 play-in games, then get out of here. Essentially today was a play-in game too, so they're going to have 3 chances at it. So, yeah, I think that's it for the play-in stuff. Should we do playoff ones, the ones we know about?
Yeah. Let's do some, the regular season ended today. Let's just do some initial thoughts, a little preview for what we think about these series, the ones that have been announced.
All right, let's start in the East. Let's do Cavs Magic. Start off the hottest series, the best series. I'm kidding. This one should be fun though. Cavs Magic. Cavs right now on FanDuel are minus 200. Magic are plus 156 to win the series. I think. Oh my gosh, man! I don't know about this one. This feels like it's gonna be 6 or 7 games to me.
I think so too, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is the one we care the least about. This is the NBA TV ESPN
I'm
Ocho
excited.
series." Yeah, well, I'm weirdly excited for a lot of these games because there's a lot of talent, and if you look at the Magic, first time playoff run for basically everyone on this team besides Joe Ingles, they are going to be hungry. Like every team's hungry to the playoffs. It's winner go
And they're
home,
playing
but
with no pressure.
extra. Exactly, everything's icing on the cake. They were supposed to be like 8, 9 seed this year. Them making the playoffs as a 5 seed is a successful year already because their young core guys are all under 24 years old.
All right, give me a prediction then for Cavs Magic.
I think the youth catches up to the Magic. I think it's going to be an exciting series, but I think Cavs win 4-2. I think
was
Donovan
gonna say
Mitchell
that too.
really, really goes crazy.
Yeah, I think it's Cavs in 6. I think Cavs win 4-2 as well. I think Donovan Mitchell just turns it on in the playoffs. I think we see an Orlando Magic team coming out hot game 1 where they're like, all right, we're here, we've arrived. DJ Augustine.
The ghost of DJ Augustine.
Yeah, the ghost of DJ Augustine returns for the Magic. They come out and they're like, ooh, are the Cavs in trouble? Every social media account, the Magic are a problem. So, yeah, give me...
it's going to be...
I'll make a graphic for it and everything. We'll post it out this week, especially once we get all the playoff series. Give me Cavs in 6 as well. Anything else on this series?
I think you're right about the Magic winning game 1, and I think we're going to see a million Donovan Mitchell in a Knicks jersey photoshops following that game 1. Oh, he's leaving Cleveland. Like, he didn't want to be here. He's checked out, and then he'll come out and drop 40 in game 2, and I think they win in 6. Because the one thing about the Cavs, with Mobley and Jared Allen, they can protect that paint. And, Paolo, Franz Wagner, like, they get in the lane like that. The Cavs have the front line to defend that.
Especially when the game's going to get tight in the playoffs like this. So, and you have defensive anchors like Allen and Mobley. And what are the ramifications if the Cavs do somehow lose to the Magic? Does it mean, hey, you blow up the Mitchell thing, or hey, let's get Mitchell on this extension. We need to keep him. He's an asset.
I think you keep Mitchell at all costs.
I think you do too.
But I think the more pressing narrative that would be formed out of this is Evan Mobley and Jared Allen can't play together. And people are going to start saying Jared Allen is better with this team than Evan Mobley is. I'm not saying he's a better player, but I'm saying if you have Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, which one of those are you keeping? I think Jared Allen plays better with both of them. Evan Mobley's going to be a great player, but together, I don't know.
I would hate Evan Mobley in Charlotte.
Yeah, that would suck.
I would hate Evan Mobley in Charlotte.
You hear that, Drew Peterson?
Bucks Pacers. Bucks are minus 245. Pacers plus 200. I think I know where you're going with this one.
I'm telling you right now, we saw it last year. Giannis is not healthy. He is not 100% healthy. He just got injured 3 games ago. This Milwaukee Bucks team without him is toast. Period. You might be able to beat the Pacers in the first round. Maybe. They're not making any noise after this unless Giannis gets some miracle Patrick Mahomes injection on the sideline from the NFL playoffs. Like, it's not going to happen. I think the Pacers can pull this off in 6 or 7 games. I'll say it. That's my upset pick of the first round.
Yeah, I think it's Bucks in 7.
Okay. I mean, I think it's a more
Bucks in
interesting
7
series than what FanDuel says.
Yeah, I think it is too. I'm going to go Bucks in 7 against the Pacers. We could get burned on this, and maybe all this. But like you watch Giannis, and you're like, this. He isn't 100% healthy, and also Lillard is such a liability on defense. It's hilarious. Like when you watch, you're like, they're attacking him every single time. Like it's so different. The contrast between when they had Drew Holiday, you're like, oh, we can't do anything. Like if you're going against the Bucks, you're like, oh my gosh, we got to deal with Holiday, then we got to deal with Giannis. Oh, like this is insane. Then you get to have Lillard, like, and if Giannis isn't 100%, he's got to play his A+ game just to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, it feels like. And I don't think that A+ game's available with him being, 75-80% healthy.
Yeah, and the thing with the Pacers is they already play at like a breakneck speed to where it's like, we're pushing the pace at all costs. We're pushing it down your throat. So then couple that with the Bucks' porous defense, I think that's a recipe for disaster. And, they played them well. You saw in the in-season tournament games, and the regular season games after that. They played them well. The Pacers played them really well. Now with Siakam in the mix, it just feels like this Pacers team has a little bit of a spark in them. And if you look at Halliburton, who's fully healthy now after that injury, he's picked it up lately. So he's been shooting the ball a little bit better. He was on a major cold stretch after that, coming back from that injury. But he's picked it up. And I just think this Pacers high-flying, quick, breakneck pace, coupled with the Bucks' bad defense and Giannis not being healthy, give me Pacers in 6. That's my prediction. I think Pacers are up 2-1, and then that game 4, I think that's when Giannis might be like, okay, I'm done in Milwaukee. I'm out of here. That's my bold prediction for the playoffs.
I'm excited. I'm kind of rooting for. I don't know any Bucks fans. I don't hate the Bucks by any means, but I just want a little chaos right now in Milwaukee. Yeah. I was like, let's change things up a little bit. So I'll be rooting for the Pacers. Pacers plus 1.5 in the series is the series spread. It's minus 115.
Yeah, well, I think I'll probably be betting that. But the thing with the Pacers is we saw them go on a week-long run or a week-and-a-half long run before the in-season tournament. They have it in them. They have it in there.
And the other question is, is Halliburton going to be on this weird minutes thing? Is he going to be fully unleashed? Is he 100% healthy? What's going on there?
I think as of now, he is 100% back because there was the 20-minute restriction to get him qualified for the 65-game threshold. But I think that's over. He's been playing upper 30 minutes in some of these competitive games. I think he's good. I think
just making sure because that you wake up some days and you're like, oh, let's check the lines, and you're like, why is Halliburton assist only 4.5? That's free money, and then you're like, oh wait, he can't play. He only plays 15 minutes for some reason.
Yeah.
I guess you can do hypothetical ones. Let's just do. We'll do NBA Finals predictions after.
Yeah,
we'll do NBA Finals predictions after. Let's talk about the series we know about. Clippers Mavericks on the Western side. Mavericks minus 120, like I mentioned before. Clippers minus 102. This opened at Mavs plus 130, I believe. I think it was.
That sounds right.
And it moved very quickly. Big time sharp money went heavy on the Mavericks over the Clippers, and I agree with them. I think the Mavericks take this one. I think the Mavericks beat the Clippers. I think it's Luka, Kyrie, and Kawhi Leonard. What's his status now? What's going on there? And it just seems like the Clipper stuff is kind of falling apart at the same time it usually does. And are we all of a sudden going to be like, you know what? I like James Harden in the playoffs. Why would we? History tells us history always tells us that James Harden is a worse player in the playoffs. Why would we all of a sudden think otherwise? So give me the Mavs. I think it's not as much as I like anti-Clippers. It's more so I just think the Mavs are on it right now, man. They're killing it.
And what's insane is either one of these teams can make a run of the conference finals, and I wouldn't be shocked. And then you look at the standings, and you're like, wait, neither one of these teams was in play for the 1 seed. There's 3 teams that are clearly above them. So then you're looking at the matchups, and I almost wanted to be like, how unlucky. Clippers and Mavs first round, that sucks. That's a brutal draw. But the rest of the Western Conference is just as good, if not better. You can't do anything. There's no days off in the Western Conference, period. No rounds off, no easy 8 seed. So with this series, I think I'm with you on the Mavs. I think Luka gives the Clippers fits. He loves playing them for whatever reason. I think Kawhi's injury is more serious than they're letting on. I think it is much more. It's lingering more than what they want to say. And they're never going to come out and say that. But all of a sudden, when Game 1 injury report comes out, it's going to be like, oh, Kawhi Leonard questionable. Or if he does play, maybe he plays 25 minutes. There's a real chance he sits out a couple of these games. So that whole aspect of it, And also, Kyrie's been a killer this year. We went over that in the open. And then PJ Washington, Derek Jones Jr., Dante Exum, Josh Green. All 4 of those guys are above average wing defenders. You can throw any one of those 4 guys at Paul George, James Harden, or Kawhi Leonard, and it'll just at least make life difficult for them. Won't stop them, but it can make life very difficult for them. So I think the Mavs are built pretty well for this series, and they're not going to have to be playing Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleba and Reggie Bullock and all these guys like 30 minutes a game like in years past. They have a legitimate starting NBA roster with a good bench behind them.
Yeah, and I just think individually, is there anybody you want more than Jokic or Luka in the playoffs? Like, you get and Kyrie's done it. Kyrie's been there. Kyrie's hit the big shots when it's mattered in the playoffs. Kyrie's not in diva mode right now. It's scary. If you're a Clippers fan, this is there. I mean, like we said before, there's no easy matchup in the West, but I'd be terrified. I'm going to be taking the Mavericks series price. That's something I will be taking straight up. I like the Mavericks a lot in this one. I think Mavs win in 6.
And I do think they've gotten hot at the right time. I will say that. This little stretch for the Mavs have been on, they are peaking at the right time. Not too early. They're not just trying to get it together before the playoffs. They are peaking at the perfect time. And I wouldn't be shocked to see a lot of small ball. A lot of PJ Washington at the 5 or the Clippers playing 5 wings. Like, I wouldn't be shocked to see a lot of that in this series. I think I'm going to go Mavs in 7. I think this is one of the most entertaining series in the first round. That would be my analysis. I will say, Carter, if you look like across the board, like 1 versus 1, Luka versus Kawhi, who you want? I'm taking Luka. Kyrie versus Paul George. With how Kyrie's been playing, I might rather have Kyrie this playoff run. I don't know.
Yeah, that one's a little tricky. I might lean Paul George on that one, but I don't know. Kyrie's just been so good recently, and
Paul George playoff history not promising.
Man, imagine if you're PJ Washington right now. You're like, ooh, I get to play in the playoffs.
I get to play meaningful basketball.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I will say a lot of the series is going to depend on him in the corner because they're going to double Luka and blitz Kyrie day in day out. PJ and Derek Jones and Exum, they're going to have to hit these corner threes for them to win.
Yep, 100%. Timberwolves Suns minus 120. Timberwolves minus 102. Same price as the Clippers.
Suns
Mavericks
favored.
series.
Wow.
Suns are favored over the Timberwolves. I don't know here. I need you to talk me into this one. Whatever happens, I'm going 7 games.
Okay, I'm also going 7 games. I'm leaning the Suns here, and I just think the Timberwolves are a year away. I think Anthony Edwards specifically is a year away. He's been awesome this year, and we opened the show with him. We were like, Anthony Edwards springboard to superstardom. I think he's still a year away. I think it's kind of like that year before Golden State won it where, the Clippers beat the Warriors and Curry and all that stuff, and they're like, oh, something's brewing here. It's going to be special, but not yet. And I think that's the case with the Timberwolves because Edwards has been awesome this year, but there's been a lot of games where he doesn't show up all the time, where it's like, oh, wait, Ant just shot 6 for 28 in this game? Or wait, he's been playing for 35 minutes and he's taken 5 shots? Like, there's been a lot of those weird games out of him this year, and I know it's the regular season, but if he has 1 or 2 of those in the playoffs against this Suns team with all that talent, it's too much for the Timberwolves to overcome.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go Suns in 7 here as well. I just want to see – yeah, I'm going to say Suns in 7. I think Kevin Durant and Devin Booker they just play out of their minds. It's just so hard to guard that team, and I think they keep one of Gobert or Towns off the floor. I think it's going to get to a point where they can't play both of them defensively because, who are they going to guard?
What do? Do you stick Towns on like Grayson Allen or Eric Gordon or like whoever that, 4th guy is? I don't know.
You mentioned PJ Washington having to shoot a lot of corner threes. There's going to be a lot of uncomfortable moments for Suns fans where they're like, all of a sudden we're really banking on Grayson Allen to hit a big shot right here. He's got to hit big time shots. He's kind of just got to be unconscious in these playoffs if the Suns want to go far because he's that X factor for them where these guys are going to get into trouble and they're going to have to kick out to Grayson Allen, and he's going to need to hit 3 to 4 threes a game for them to be successful in these playoffs. I'm
with you there. Royce O'Neal also going to have to step up and hit big shots for the Suns.
That doesn't make you feel good.
That doesn't, but it's going to happen. And if you're the Wolves, there's no good matchup in the West, but to get stuck against this Suns team where they love to play, Gobert and Towns are together, but it's like, who's Towns going to guard? Like, this Phoenix Suns power forward is Kevin Durant. You put Towns on Durant, that series is over.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's okay. Gobert and Towns are not going to be able to stay on the floor together unless the Timberwolves dominate early. But even then, like if they dominate, you get a one-on-one matchup with Kevin Durant versus Gobert or Towns. I guess. Like, do you just put Gobert on Kevin Durant?
No, you don't. You can't have him away from the basket
that.
that.
But what do you do?
Well, I don't think they're going to go away from what won them 56 games this year and almost had the 1 seed. They're going to play those guys together, and they're going to die by that. They're going to live and die by that. I think that.
I don't think you can, though. I think you have to – they're going to have to adjust. And that's the biggest problem is I just don't see a world where both of those players stay on the floor together.
I think we're going to see an uncomfortable amount of Kyle Anderson in this series for 2 reasons. Number one, because like you said, Towns and Gobert are playing 2 bigs together. It's not really going to work that well. Number 2, I think Jaden McDaniels averages 5 fouls in like 20 minutes. Like I think he'll foul out of like 4 or 5 of these games, and I'm so serious.
Yep. I think so too.
It just sucks for the Wolves though, because like ideally you'd want to play a team with like maybe a couple bigs or like a Cavs-like team where it's like, oh, they have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, and this is our bread and butter. Like we have 2 bigs also. But more often than not in the league, that's not how it's going to be. Or even the Mavs with like Gafford and PJ. Like if Towns has to guard PJ Washington, fine. But like with a team like the Suns, you're screwed at every matchup with 2 bigs. And that brings us back full circle all the way to last summer to where it was like, might be fine in the regular season, but you can't play Gobert and Towns together in the playoffs. And here we are.
I know. That's why that's why I struggle with everyone being like Gobert Defensive Player of the Year, which it's the right thing in the regular season. It is, but then when you look back in history, it's all of a sudden it's I don't know. Give me Suns in 7. What's your pick?
Suns in 7. I think we're going to see so many game 7s in this first round just cuz like I said, the talent level, the parity level, all these teams are so good, especially in the West. I wouldn't be shocked if 3 of the 4 Western first round series go to 7 games. Would not be shocked.
No, I hope it. I hope they do. I hope they do because I think last year's playoffs were a little meh, especially the finals were terrible. The finals. But
you knew what was going to happen.
Yes, and you're just like, okay, like let's just, Is I saw this tweet. Is this the year of the chalkboard?
I don't know, dude.
South Carolina women's, UConn men,
tournament.
Chiefs. What are college football? I guess Michigan, but like Michigan wasn't really chalk. That was Georgia, chalky-ish. Yeah. But like,
so who's chalk for the NBA? Celtics? It'd have to be Celtics or Nuggets.
It has Celtics, Nuggets, yeah.
That's funny because like I feel like they've been on a collision course all year, and then as the year's gone on, it's been like, oh well, we talk ourselves into this team. The Clippers had a 20-game run, or the Suns' big 3 before the season, or it's like, oh, the Sixers and Embiid's playing at an MVP level, and we talk ourselves into these other teams. But then it comes down to Boston, Denver once again on a collision course. And I think as the playoffs play out, it's going to end up with that again in the end.
So is that your NBA Finals prediction? Yeah. Give me your NBA Finals prediction.
All year they've been on a collision course. I think it's going to be Boston, Denver in the finals.
And who wins?
Give me Boston in 7.
Wow.
And that'll be a very
year.
entertaining series.
Yeah, I've said it all year, and I've said it since day one before the season, and I'm going to stick with it. I just don't see a world where it's not Denver versus Boston in the finals, and I'm going with the Nuggets in 7 as well. I'm going with Nuggets in 7. I think we finally get the finals we want. We kind of seen it in every sport almost. Chiefs Niners were like, okay, maybe these were probably the 2 legitimate best teams in the sport. They finally collide. UConn versus Purdue in college basketball, we finally got to see it. And Nuggets versus Celtics, I'm going to go with the team that's been there and that's won it before. Give me the Nuggets in 7 for the NBA Finals. I think Jokic goes back-to-back. Yeah,
I think you're spot on. I think that's a good bet.
I'm not going to sit here and say, like, you're an idiot for picking the Celtics. It's like, I think you're going to go to Vegas, and I think Vegas is going to give you odds on Celtics Nuggets if that ends up being the series. I bet it's -120 Celtics, -110 Nuggets. Like it's going to -115 Celtics, -105 Nuggets. It's going to be right there neck and neck. It's going to be even odds almost.
Yeah. You tell Jeff Benson to plop down in Circa Sports and make odds for this first round series. No.
I sent you that ACC quarterback list. I got a little tickled for football.
I know. I'm excited for that.
I know.
I will say this NBA playoffs, though, it's shaping up to be, from the play-in to the NBA Finals, one of the most entertaining month and a half of basketball we've seen in a long time, genuinely. Because in years past, there's always been a few cross-off teams where it's like, oh, major injury to this guy, you can cross them off. Or, oh, this team barely snuck in as an 8 seed, cross them off. There are no cross-offs this year. Even the East, which is much better as the West is in the East, the 7 and 8 in the East is probably Philly, Miami, which can do some damage in the Eastern Conference. Like, there's no cross-offs this year. If you're looking at injuries, who's the most injured superstar this year? Julius Randle, maybe? Is there any other major injuries I'm missing? If Kawhi's out, but he seems to be okay.
If Kawhi's out, maybe. But the
That's
problem
it.
is, the sad part is there's going to be
Giannis.
1 to 2. There's going to be 1 to 2 stars that do get injured in the playoffs, and it just happens every year.
But this seems like a year where going into the playoffs, there's not as many. So that's
No. Going in, yeah, I think you're 100% right, and I think this is why this is shaping up to be maybe one of the most entertaining NBA playoffs ever.
Yeah.
I hope it is. Like, I'm excited.
excited.
Shout out the sports calendar because it's kind of working out very nice. I mean, it usually works out this way, but like this year it's just been so nice. You know, you get the Final Four, then the national title game, then you have a few days to get ready, and then the Masters are on if you're super into golf, and then now. This same weekend, you get the end of the NBA regular season. We don't have to guess who's playing in these games anymore. And then we finally get the NBA play-in all week, and then we get the NBA playoffs, and then NHL playoffs are back. If you're into that, shout out the Canes. And so, I'm very excited. I'm very excited.
It should be good. Before we go, can I hit you with a couple random bullet points I wrote down just to close the show?
Go for it.
Hawks were the worst team against the spread this year, 29-53 against the spread. Second worst record against the spread in 30 years. Second worst record against the spread in 30 years. Disgusting. So there's one. Jeremy Grant for the Blazers has not played in a game in the month of April since 2021. That is a tank master right there, if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, he's just if your team needs a tank, so that means he's going to the Wizards next year.
Yeah. Will he get traded? There's the A block for the summer.
Yeah.
Staying on the Blazers note here, Delano Banton getting handed the keys to the Blazers was just absolutely cinema. I don't even know what else to say. He was 0 for 15 from 3 today. Delano Banton for the Blazers. Just absolutely crazy. Brandon Miller over Scoot Henderson seems like the right pick. We were absolutely devastated during the summer, but after their rookie year, Scoot's going to be fine, but Miller looks like a stud.
Scoot's going to be good.
I agree, but Miller is damn good.
Yeah, Miller is very, very, very legit.
Last one.
Go for it.
Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies, man. 33 different players on their roster this year. 51 different starting lineups. They were closing with Jack White the other day, as we talked about. So shout out them, because that was some very interesting names to see in the box score for the Grizzlies this year.
Can we play this game real quick?
Oh God.
Stat leaders to close the season. So,
Okay.
top 5 point leaders. Can you name them? Not in order. Just can you name them
For the whole season, not just today, right?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Points per game. For
I
the
think
season.
Luka leads the league, right?
Yeah, 33.9.
So Luka, Giannis.
Yep.
30.4.
He's second.
SGA.
He's third with 30.3.
Okay. Well, this is good. I'm doing good. Who else took a ton of shots? Is Embiid on there?
Embiid is not on here. He might have not qualified.
I don't think he's eligible. He's not eligible, yeah. So I'm at 3. Yeah, I'm at a loss right now. How about... Is Tatum up there?
Nope.
Oh, Brunson. Brunson for sure.
Brunson's 4 at 28.6.
And then we need 5. Man, I don't know.
This one's kind of weird. It's weird and it's not. You're going to hear it and you're like, oh, duh. But
LeBron.
Kevin Durant.
Oh, really? He's top 5 this year.
27.3.
Shout out Kevin Durant. Okay.
That's
the thing. And he's had, and by his standards, a quiet year.
I think these are just fascinating. The top 5 leaders in each category. Can you do assists?
Okay, I know Halliburton leads.
Yep, 10.9 per game.
Trae Young's after him.
No.
Luka. This got to be Luka.
Luka 9.8.
Is Trae in the top 5?
Uh-uh.
Well, yes, he is. Come on.
Maybe I got bad numbers. We might need to.
No, maybe the games played. Actually, he did miss a long time.
Let's go. Let's get stats department on this. I can cut this out if we need to.
Jokic is on there. Okay, so it's Halliburton, Luka. Is Jokic top 5?
Jokic is 3. It's Halliburton averaging 10.9, Doncic 9.8, Jokic 9.9.
Okay, so I got that, and then let's see, last two. I think this is kind of a crapshoot. Brunson? No, Brunson wouldn't be up there. DeJounte Murray? I don't know. I'm lost on the last two. Harden?
Harden's 4. Harden's 8.5.
Okay. There's
number
4.
5.
LeBron?
Who is? Yeah, it's LeBron. LeBron.
Oh, no way!
Yeah,
Dude,
LeBron
5 for
8.3.
5. All right.
Okay. I think we did this one before earlier in the season, and it's all time good now. It's fantastic.
Oh my God, I know where you're going, and I'm not going to get a single one.
Fascinating looking at these stats. Can you name the top 5 3-point percentage leaders in the NBA regular season this year?
Grayson Allen.
Grayson Allen won at 46.1%.
After that, I mean, Malik Beasley?
No, he's not even top 5.
He was.
Yeah, he was
Buddy
leading
Hield.
for a minute. Buddy Hield is not on here. I would be shocked if you got any of these.
They bench guys?
Kinda. One of them's not.
Isaiah Joe.
No.
Okay, I'm cooked then. I have no clue. Sam Hauser.
No.
Then
Number
what?
two.
What is it?
Number 2, Luke Kennard at 45% from 3 this season.
two Blue Devils, top of the leaderboard. All right.
Yeah. Number 3, Mike Conley at 44.2% from 3 this season.
Holy cow.
Number 4,
That's shocking.
Garrison Matthews at 44% from 3 this season.
All right, we need a minimum minutes played requirement here. Come on now.
Norman Powell, number 5, at 43.5% from 3 this season. Those are your NBA league leaders in 3-point percentage.
You could have given me the rest of the night. There's no way I would have gotten all this.
Or even like 1. That was insane. Do you want any of these others? I think these are crazy. I think
we can try rebounds.
Rebounds, I think you should be able to get 4 out of 5. Honestly, 5 out of 5.
Sabonis, Gobert,
Yep.
Giannis, Wemby.
No.
Oh God.
Come on, you know it.
Jokic,
Yeah, Jokic.
Embiid. Is he on there? Or games played.
No, I think
Okay.
games played screwed him.
Anthony Davis.
Yep. And then
So that's
5.
4.
No, yeah, those are the top 4, and then number 5. Number 5 is a little bit weirder one. Think NBA prop bets, probably.
Jared Allen.
Nope. Next one.
Jalen Duren.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Jalen Duren made me some money this year. Shout out Jalen Duren.
I'm looking at these other ones. All right, this is the last one, and then we'll get out of here. 3-pointers made this season. Can you name the top 5 league leaders in the NBA regular season in 3-pointers made?
Steph Curry 1.
Steph Curry won with 357.
3-pointers made. Luka's got to be on there.
Lucas 2.
Okay.
Number 3
Next.
will probably surprise you.
Number 3 will surprise me.
4 and 5, you should probably get. 5 might be a little tricky.
Trae Young.
Nope.
Tyrese Maxey.
Nope.
I might be cooked on this. I'm not going to lie.
Number 3, do you want me to give you number 3?
Trey Murphy.
Dante DiVincenzo.
Oh, wow. I should have known. He was jacking up like 20 a game whenever Randall went down. I should have known that.
Number 4, Klay Thompson.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yep. And then number 5, Paul George.
I wouldn't have got that one.
No.
DiVincenzo. I should have got DiVincenzo. I should have got that. He's playing 45 minutes a night for about 2 months.
Yeah, I was fascinated when I saw this. I was like, oh, yeah, let me look at the league leaders today and everything. But anyhow, I think that wraps it up for us. I think that was a jam-packed show. Jam-packed.
It was a long return, but it was warranted. It was needed to get ready for the playoffs.
If you're watching on YouTube, it's going to be in 2 separate. We're going to do the NBA playoff preview on its own separate YouTube video and all the regular season stuff into one. If you're listening on Spotify, you obviously know everything was all in one episode, so it's all good there. So if you're watching on YouTube, go to the other video. If you're or vice versa, whatever. But anyhow, that'll do it from us at Connor_Sparrow, at CarterBA, at CarterCast on all social media. Download the SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. You get $20 off your first purchase using code CarterCast. $50 minimum purchase required. Terms and conditions apply. Use code CarterCast, KarterCast. $20 off your first purchase.
You got that down
at SeatGeek. Oh, I say it in my sleep.
You got that down.
I wake up, I'm brushing my teeth. It's $20 off CarterCast. $20 off CarterCast.
Turn the shower on. First purchase only. First purchase only.
Yeah, it's in my morning prayers at this point. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. But anyhow, that'll do it from us. Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, wherever you're listening. Rate, review. Got a ton of fun stuff coming this summer. We'll be here all NBA playoffs long. We'll do some maybe wait. I'm gonna wait for some dust to settle. We'll do some college basketball off-season stuff and whatnot. And
NFL draft.
NFL draft coming soon. We got to do an NFL draft show next week.
Gotta get Dylan
on. Jam packed. You think sports are coming to a close? We're back, baby. We're fully in. June. I'm scared. I'm scared about June because like when we get Stanko on for the NBA draft show, I'm gonna be like
that might be like a 20-minute
man.
show.
I'm like Stanko, man. I don't you dare lie to me. I know you're not watching Alex Sarr film. I mean, we're gonna be sitting here like, can Dalton? I think the conversation in the NBA draft show is just gonna be, can this guy get a second contract?
Yeah,
and that is successful in this draft.
You mean you're telling me Cody Williams' tape isn't going to be grinded? Come on now.
Oh, dude. Yeah, like these European guys, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm really watching. Who's the cat from Wake that left? Klintman, Bobby Klintman.
Bobby Klintman.
Yeah. I'm gonna be sitting here grinding courtside films and be like, Bobby Klintman. It was in his bag, 29 points against some Lithuanian School of the Blind.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's gonna be great.
Yeah, I can't wait. But anyhow, all right, we'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.